Hi and welcome. My name is Gonzalo Artiach and I'm a healthcare equity analyst here at the ABG. With us, the next company presenting today is Irlab Therapeutics. And here we have the CEO of the company, Gunnar Olsson. Gunnar, welcome.
Thank you very much.
And Gunnar, I would like you to start giving us a short intro for the ones that don't know Irlab of what is Irlab, in what space do you work and what are you trying to solve?
Thank you. Irlab is a research company based in Gothenburg. It originates from the research group around the Nobel laureate Arvid Carlsson. Arvid Carlsson received the Nobel Prize because of his studies in Parkinson's disease. Based on the very deep knowledge about the biology around Parkinson's disease, this group has created a very special platform to discover new chemical entities, new candidate drugs. And that is a computerized systems biology technology that really improves the probability of success, taking a molecule from preclinical into late stage clinical development. Because of the deep knowledge in the Parkinson field, we have a very clear strategy where we focus on Parkinson's disease. With the ISP platform, we have generated all our CDs, and we today have 5 CDs. The most advanced CD is ready for phase 3, and then we have molecules in preclinical documentation, and then things in between. We are aiming to help patients with any type of symptom and complication that may occur during the disease journey from start of the disease to very advanced situations. We are a company that has demonstrated the business model in that we have taken molecules, as said, from discovery and all the way up to phase 1, phase 2, and now to phase 3 readiness. And we've been able to strike deals with other companies. So that's in short, Irlab.
Very good explanation. And now moving to the point, I mean, you're saying that one of your assets, it's phase 3 ready. It's mesdopetam, your lead molecule right now, and it's for Parkinson's disease, levodopa-induced dyskinesia. Recently, you have presented a deeper analysis of the phase 2b data that you have generated in that indication, in levodopa-induced dyskinesia. Could you give us a brief outlook of the results that you have shown so far in this indication?
The study was a dose-finding study, so we had different doses of mesdopetam. What we have seen is a dose-dependent effect on antidyskinetic effect, an anti-Parkinsonian effect, and that without any compromise to normal motor function. And then coupled with this, we have a safety tolerability on par with placebo. So we are excited because we think that this gives the molecule a very strong position, both from a clinical point of view as well as from a commercial point of view.
Very interesting. And for dyskinesia, right now, which one is the standard of care?
There are not many alternatives here. Actually, only one specific medicine, and that is amantadine. Amantadine is a drug that has difficulties in using it. The reason being that it has tolerability issues. What key opinion leaders tells us that is that about 1/3 of those that are introduced to the drug won't tolerate it. About 1/5 will develop hallucinations and other type of neuropsychiatric side effects. It has a very unpredictable PK. And what we also hear from physicians, that is that because of the tolerability profile, the majority of patients cannot tolerate the dose that is needed to really have antidyskinetic effects. Others are testing other ways to control LIDs, levodopa-induced dyskinesia, and that is to try to titrate levodopa dose by very sophisticated pump systems. But pump systems, they are expensive, they are difficult to really control, and you always run the risk of having too much or too little of the dose. And it's very difficult to give this in broader populations. It's for single individuals. And then the third alternative, in the very, very severe cases, then you can try with brain surgery. But again, this is complex, it is expensive, and it's not suitable for broad patient populations. So therefore, we think that mesdopetam has a very major chance here to really fulfill an unmet medical need.
Great, no, very, very interesting. And if we compare mesdopetam with Gocovri, for example, the results that you have shown from recent results, you show that in the scale UDYSRS, you are seeing a 6.2 point improvement compared to placebo. If we compare this number to what has been generated with Gocovri, this comparison, for someone that doesn't understand, really, it could seem that Gocovri has better results than mesdopetam. Could you let us guide us to understand this comparison? Is it fair to compare one with the other?
I would say that we are comparing different things. The reason I say this is that when Gocovri ran the phase 3 programs, they used UDYSRS with 4 subcomponents. The part 1, the part 2, the part 3, the part 4. Since then, FDA is starting to advise that you should not include the component 2. And this is why we, in our study, only included part 1, part 3, and part 4. And since the overall number is an addition of the numbers from the subsections, it is, in one case for amantadine, the addition of 4 different numbers. And in our case, it's the addition of 3 different numbers. But then I should also say that in our dose finding, for us, the most important evaluation, that was the what we call in our presentation the PS population analysis. And that is where we analyze those that really we know had the 7.5 milligram twice daily dose. There we actually see a 9.2 number as an improvement of the UDYSRS scale.
Very interesting. So right now we could conclude that comparing the data that Gocovri has in the label with the one that you have generated now with mesdopetam, it's not literally correct, let's say.
No, and unfortunately, I don't think that there is in the public domain that Gocovri data has been divided by the subsections. Yeah. If that would be the case, then we could have compared it. But at the moment, we have not been able to do that comparison.
Very clear, very clear. And the asset, mesdopetam, you had it partnered with Ipsen, but recently you have decided to part ways. Ipsen is no longer together with Irlab. But could you give us some color words on what is the actual thoughts of Ipsen on the data that you have generated?
Absolutely. I will try to do the best. I don't have all the answer to your question, but I will give you my interpretation of the situation. I was actually contacted by an Ipsen colleague 1st of May. The message was that we want to discuss how we can take the product on so that it reaches registration and that it could help patients. But we want to discuss how should we do it. And since beginning of May, we've had discussions on what would be the best way. And the discussion gone a little bit back and forth, and it ended up with us coming up with a new agreement. So it's actually a new contract with Ipsen, where people from Ipsen stated, we think the product has potential on the market. We want to be part of this, but we want to make this new agreement with you. So it ended up with us now securing the full ownership and rights to the product. We see as next step, we want to go to the FDA for an end of phase 2 meeting But before that, we need to have a briefing book where we compile all the data that we have. And here, Ipsen will help us compiling the data so that we can build the briefing book. Secondly, Ipsen, they have produced all the phase 3 material, drugs for the phase 3 trials, and they want us to use that in order to see that it moves forward. And in the new agreement, they've also been very clear that we are not to pay Ipsen anything during the development period because all the funding should really support driving the project through. And Ipsen is then interested in getting royalties from the sales when the product comes to the market. Of course, one would ask, but why did they change their mind? Why didn't they go with the product? And parallel to the discussions with Ipsen, of course, we have tried to follow what's happening in Ipsen as a company and what happens with our pipeline and portfolio. And whether this has an impact on the decision, I don't know. But what I've seen, that is that mid-June, they had a positive thing happening, and that is that the FDA approved a broader indication for the product that they received after acquiring Albireo by the year end. And then late in June, they also got approval, they got positive readouts for phase 3 for a product that they licensed from Genfit. And then mid-August, they actually got approval for a product to be used in a certain skeletal disease. And of course, when you have 3 opportunities that are closer to the market than mesdopetam, maybe it has had some impact. And secondly, if you are near launch or at launch stage, you need to really make sure that you succeed with your launches. And we can only speculate, but it may have been playing a role. I think the best who could respond to this is, of course, the Ipsen people. But this is to describe my thinking as I've been in discussion with the company.
Yeah, and right now mesdopetam is phase 3 ready.
Actually, phase 3, we believe that we won't now do additional phase 2 studies. The next clinical trial will be a phase 3.
A phase 3. If you would have to design now a phase 3 for mesdopetam, what kind of primary endpoint, based on the experience of your previous trials, would you choose?
We will, of course, need to have the end of phase 2 meeting with the FDA to agree the endpoints. But what I would anticipate, based on the knowledge we have the amantadine ER, the Gocovri approval to look at. We have had our previous interactions with the FDA, and taking all that together, I would say that UDIS-RS subsection 1, 3, and 4, that would be the primary endpoint. But of course, if anything comes up at the FDA interaction, we will, of course, adjust.
Great. Very clear. If we move to your second asset in clinical development now, pirepemat, you are in phase 2B right now for Parkinson's disease falls. Could you let us know how is this program developing and what, a little bit of color of what's coming for pirepemat?
Yep. As we communicated in July, we now have all centers in the study up and running, meaning that they are recruiting patients. We had also during the summer the first pre-planned review from the DSMB, the Data Safety Monitoring Board, and they unanimously recommend us to just continue the study as is. That means to the study protocol as we have it. So what we are now aiming for, that is to have the patient recruitment completed by end year, and then we hope to be able to present top-line results in the first half year next year.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And which one is a bigger priority, let's say, for Irlab? Is it mesdopetam or pirepemat?
I would say both projects, if we come to the position that we have 2 projects that should enter phase 3, they will both be priorities for us. Of course, having phase 3 activities in your plans means that you need to think about how can you finance all your assets in the portfolio. And we will, of course, do evaluation of all different options to be able to drive the portfolio forward. And that means that we will, of course, look at opportunities for partnering, licensing, as well as what are the opportunities from the capital market. And when we have a picture of the full spectrum, of course, we will see what is best for the company and then move forward. The important thing is that both these drugs are addressing some of the most difficult symptoms that a patient with Parkinson's disease has. And since there are no or very limited alternatives available, we see that it's very important to drive this through. So it is priorities for us, both of these.
Clear. And one last question. You reported today your Q2. With your cash that you have now, how does your runway look like?
We put our priorities beginning of the year to see what are the priorities for this year. 1 week ago, we got the phase 3 ready program back. And of course, that shifts things. So we are presently evaluating the situation to see how can we strengthen the financing when we look ahead. It is pretty clear that we need to have additional financing to go into phase 3 activities. We are evaluating, as I said, business development activities as well as financing through the capital market. What I believe we have, that is a stronger position now after we got mesdopetam back. So I think that the possibilities to move either business development or financial market, that has improved after last week.
Great. Gunnar, thank you very much for being with us today and for the conversation.
Thank you.